There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy a favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
Tonight, we've invited 5 of the most prominent brands in the source unit category to discuss the latest models, features, integrations, and innovations that are now or soon to be available. CMA Live, presented by SiriusXM, the Source Units episode, starts now. What's going on, everybody? And thanks for tuning in to another CMA Live presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and tonight's theme is, of course, source units. You know, that category that so many of us began with or started with. And, you know, really when it comes to building a system, it kind of starts with the source unit. And, you know, I'm not going to be the one here to tell you that the source unit category has been super exciting these last 2 years. It certainly has had its challenges, but I'm happy to announce that I think some of those challenges are being overcome and brands are coming to market with brand new product, new features, with this high demand that we're seeing through our stores for features such as Apple CarPlay and applications such as Marine and Power Sports to boot. So tonight we've got 5 big brands coming on, sharing with us all the new wares, the latest and greatest. We're happy to have them back. And we've spent all month talking about source units. So we're going to connect all the dots for you guys. So thanks for joining us. Let's go ahead and bring in our very first guest representing a legendary brand in the game. Of course, I'm talking about Pioneer Electronics. And with us tonight is their national trainer, Harry Kroll.
Hey, Ben. Great to see you, brother. Great to see you.
Good evening, Mr. Harry. Always a pleasure to have you on. Nice having you back. I know it's been a little while since we've spoke, but so happy to have you and Pioneer back on CMA.
Really happy to be here too, Ben. It's great to see you.
We're kicking off the show with you, Harry, because, you know, Pioneer's back in a big way. Lots of cool stuff to talk about. How amazing does it feel to be able to get here, be on the show, and share with us some new product news?
It really is great. I'm very excited about it. It really is great because, the past 2.5 years have been, all full of chip troubles and port troubles and other nonsense. And we're starting to overcome that stuff, as many, companies in the industry are. So very delighted to have the opportunity to be here and talk about a couple of new things. We've introduced a couple of other new products over the past couple of years too. We've introduced some fabulous new subwoofers, but we're here to talk about in-dash receivers tonight, and I'm very excited to talk about a couple of new ones that we have that I think are going to be very hot.
Oh, I know they're hot. We're already getting the feedback. We had the opportunity to sit down earlier in the week and really deep dive. So I do encourage you, if you haven't watched that session yet, go back on the CMA Networks, check it out. We covered that with Harry and Robert Money as well. Now, I'm going to take a few steps back here to kind of set up our dialogue today, because a couple years ago, Pioneer introduced kind of like a really interesting system. But by system, I mean a software updatable platform.
Right.
And now, a couple years later, it's starting to bear fruit because we've got updates adding tremendous value to customers who have already invested in these products.
Yeah, it's true, Ben. So, we've been doing making receivers that are, when you buy a receiver, is that what you're stuck with for the rest of the time that you have the thing? Or is there a way to make it a little bit better? That was a question that we asked sitting around the product planning group, and how can we do this? So much of what we do today is software driven. But you have to think forward a little bit and see, okay, if things are software driven, we need to build the hardware of this product so it can handle software in the future. It, not 10, 50 years in the future, but a couple of years in the future, what can we do that's different? And so we started building product that way a few years back. And it starts off with firmware updates to things and making the Bluetooth better, or a new phone comes out and you get a firmware update that corrects a problem that was created by this new phone. That's how things start. Right. But then things come forward a little bit and you start to see significant changes to products. People bought a radio a year or 2 years ago, and now Pioneer delivers an amazing new feature to them for absolutely no cost. All they have to do is do a firmware update to the receiver. And if you had one of Pioneer's 10-inch receivers or 9-inch receivers, that next Apple CarPlay receiver, you now have split screen Apple CarPlay available to you if you want to use it for no cost. And if you're a CarPlay user, it's a fabulous
Can you take a
upgrade to
second and
Apple
explain
CarPlay.
what that is? Some of our viewers might never even heard that term yet. So what exactly is split screen CarPlay?
Okay, so split screen CarPlay works with Pioneer's 10-inch and 9-inch receivers, the big floating screen receivers. And so you use Apple CarPlay full screen right now is what you use, and you're touching buttons and talking to Siri or whatever it is that you do. But the trouble is that if you want to do something on the in-dash receiver, say for example, listen to the AM/FM radio, and a lot of people do that, or you want to listen to the USB source, or maybe you have on-screen climate controls and you need to change the air conditioning, right? But turn it up, turn it down, whatever. You've got to kind of back out of CarPlay, get into the Pioneer system, find your on-screen climate controls, and then after you're done adjusting, back out of that and get back over to CarPlay. Well, what if I could split the screen? CarPlay is still on the screen and your on-screen climate controls are there at the same time. That's what we can do. Touch a button, bang, the screen splits. I can adjust the air conditioner, the heater. I can change the radio source or the radio station or the song that I'm listening to, and then touch a button and it goes back to full screen. It is very slick, works on Pioneer's 9-inch and 10-inch floating screens.
Super slick. Split screen CarPlay, that's a thing now. Sticking on the theme of software, let's take a minute and talk about this unique software from Pioneer called SmartSync and why it's so valuable. And maybe dealers need to better understand the power of what SmartSync may be about.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, Ben, we introduced a radio back in, I think, 2018-19 timeframe at CES, and it was called SPH10BT, SPH-10BT. And it is an in-dash receiver. Frankly, it looks like an old cassette player because it has sort of a hole in the middle of the face like an old cassette player, but that hole is a cradle for a phone. And you can pull that cradle out and fold it up, and it's got a really firm, nice cradle for a phone that can go, horizontal or vertical, however you like to use your phone. And you can flip it up this way or that way. And it's just a really nice radio that holds the phone. But that's all great, but you can get a phone cradle anywhere. Now what we did was created software for your phone that controls that in-dash receiver. And it gives you a graphical user interface to operate that receiver, right? So you get the feel of a two-DIN with a full graphical user interface, a video screen, but it's really just a one-DIN audio-only receiver. And that was called Pioneer SmartSync, that software to make that work from your Android phone or your iPhone. Now, fast forward a little bit, and now let me try that again. SmartSync works with nearly every Pioneer in-dash receiver that is audio only. So one DIN CD players and mechless pieces, two DIN CD players and mechless, audio only. SmartSync works with those too. And it gives you that full graphical user interface to operate the receiver. And if you touch a button, it launches navigation. Touch another button, you can make phone calls. You can do messaging. But, on-screen nav, and you're getting the system talking to you, telling you turn-by-turn instruction from your favorite nav apps like, Google Maps and Apple Maps and Waze, all right through the in-dash receiver you already have and the phone you already have. That's the power of SmartSync. And then we just updated it with live data from an OBD2 port adapter can show up on that screen too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the software, updating the firmware, updating the software, and giving consumers more than they ever thought they had.
That's, having that experience with a brand like Pioneer that offers that level up experience even after the purchase. That's even valuable for as far as longevity of customer relations. So let's get into it. There's a unit that's kind of causing a stir. Yeah, I'll say it's causing a stir. That's the best way I can explain it. It's a value packed brand new model coming out from Pioneer. I want you to tell us all about this new model and what an incredible price tag that it comes with.
Okay, Ben, you're talking about Pioneer's new DMHW 2770 Next, 2770 Next. And the W in the model number means wireless, Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and it is, as they say, priced to move. All right, 430 US, I think 540 Canadian. It is almost half the price of Pioneer's next up in the line that does wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. About half the price, not quite, but about half. So, I mean, it is a dramatic and very aggressive price point for wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. And this really comes down to the idea that people are walking into stores and saying to the floor sales guy, I want CarPlay, or I want Android Auto. And they're not overly concerned about many other things, other stuff that might be happening with the radio. It's I want CarPlay, I want Android Auto. And this receiver fits that bill very, very nicely.
Oh man, I think it's going to be a hot ticket item, and I think it's got dealers very excited to be able to offer a Pioneer level brand piece loaded with features at that price point. So really good job from Pioneer on that one. However, on the flip side to that, I want to make sure our dealers understand what it is that we're saying here. This is a value packed item, but there are some caveats that come with it. And I want integration features. I want you to kind of make sure we understand what we're talking about here as a package.
Sure, sure. Okay, so like I just said, people are walking into stores saying, I want Apple CarPlay and I want Android Auto. And if that is their number one thing that they want, this may be the perfect receiver for them. DMHW 2770 Next might be exactly what they want. However, you have to keep in mind, if somebody's after a higher end audio product, DMHW 2770 Next is a very nice audio product, but you can do better in Pioneer's lineup if you want. Right. So if you're looking for 4-volt RCA outputs, or you're looking for time alignment, or being able to set it up as front, rear, and sub, or high, mid, and low, high bandpass, low outputs on the RCAs, you want a different receiver. Okay. Now the DMHW 2770 Next, awesome wireless CarPlay, awesome wireless Android Auto. But if you need Maestro RR or RR2, it does not support those at all. Right. Mm-hmm. So if that guy comes in and says, I want CarPlay, and by the way, I have on-screen climate controls, I need a radio to replace that, DMHW 2770 Next is not the right product for them. There are better products to suit those needs. And the same thing with like Sirius XM. If Sirius XM is my number one thing, there's a better product for me than DMHW 2770 Next. It works with Sirius XM and I can tune in any channel, but it's got a very simple user interface. And I want, maybe I want the whole experience of on-screen album art and those other things, I can get that. But if my number one thing is wireless CarPlay or wireless Android Auto, my experience with wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto is exactly the same with that receiver that it is with every other Pioneer receiver. So if it's CarPlay, Android Auto, DMHW 2770 Next might be exactly what you want.
There you go. You've heard both sides of the story. Brand new unit coming out from Pioneer. Make sure you call your distributor to find out what's going on. And on that note, if you're looking for more information on Pioneer Electronics, make sure you visit their website, pioneerelectronics.com, to get you the info. Mr. Cole, always a pleasure. Exciting to have you back, and I look forward to having you on multiple other sessions that we have planned for the rest of the year. So we'll see you then.
We certainly will do that, Ben. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for having me on tonight.
Absolutely. Take care, Harry.
Be well, brother.
All right. Pioneer Electronics coming to the board with some aggressively priced product. And I'm sure there's even more to come, but this is a really exciting way to get them back in the game, along with many of the brands that we'll be spotlighting tonight. Our next brand is coming to you from a group of companies that you may or may not be aware are pretty serious about the source unit category. No, they're not coming to you competing necessarily against, the Pioneers and the Sonys in this world, but they certainly have a lot to offer with a very well thought out and designed offering. So let's go ahead and bring him on. At this point, I'm just going to call him the CMA veteran. He's a veteran representing AMP Global. It's the director of training, Mr. Jeff Smith.
Hey, Ben, how you doing?
You're a CMA V, buddy.
I appreciate that. And you got my title right.
I did. I simplified it.
Good job.
All right. So you've made it very clear on previous presentations, Jeff, AMP Global, Stinger, you're not coming to the board saying, yo, we're going to take out like the Sonys and the Kenwoods and the Pioneer. This is not the game. What you've done is you've targeted a specific niche market, ran with it, and went very deep with it to provide features that are pretty unique. So why don't we start with, let's start with the Heighten. So help me remind dealers some of the great features that make the Heighten such a unique piece within this segment.
Well, like you said, the entire purpose of our infotainment systems is to give, vehicle specific or even universal applications a different view on how to add aftermarket head unit into a vehicle. So some of the very unique features of the Heighten, of course, are going to be its very unique mounting structure that allows it to be installed into almost any vehicle, whether it be a single DIN application, a double DIN application, or even a zero DIN application. So zero DIN meaning you don't have a DIN location in the dash, but you can figure out some custom way within one of our the flush kits that we can add into a vehicle, or you can do a custom mold the screen to the dash, relocate the brain somewhere else, things like that. That along with all of the influences from the other brands within our AMP umbrella, the safety features, 4 built-in camera inputs, the audio features, 15-band graphic EQ, time alignment, variable volume optical output. I mean, you talk about some very unique features built into that unit that make it a clear winner.
Oh, absolutely. Some very unique features indeed. And you scratched on it, but I want to blow the door down on this because, that pack integration side of things and how it's been designed into the Heighten design. Let's go deeper into that application specific integration features that, in my opinion, are pretty darn next level.
Yeah, so basically, being that we have the ability to blend all of our companies together, the engineers with PAC and the engineers on the infotainment side of Stinger opened up a new port in this unit called PAC Link port. And this basically allows us to tap into all the data you would normally receive from a PAC integration module and then pipe all of that into the infotainment screen of the Heighten. So with that blended into the unit, you're going to have steering wheel controls. You're going to have TPMS information. You're going to have all the vehicle gauge information, as long as that information is available on the data bus of the vehicle. That's what's important, because we know that different vehicles put different information on the data bus. So that's why not all installations put the same amount of information on the screen. So that's extremely important. So just having that horsepower of PAC integration combined with the installation flexibility and all of the plastics capabilities that we have from our plastic sides of American International to blend all of these into these beautiful vehicle kits makes it a far different approach that is a home run every time you can get into one of those vehicles.
When it comes to dealers pitching and selling application specific stuff to customers, it's always a home run. Customers love seeing it because they know it's something that's been designed to fit with their specific vehicle. You touched on it's a great segue about the plastics. There's been a couple new announcements of new kits and new applications. Let's talk about what some of those different applications when it comes to how you integrate physically into the dash of some of these vehicles.
Right. So first and foremost, we always want everyone to know, Ben, the Heighten is a universal head unit, but when you pair it with the vehicle specific dash kit, that's when the fire happens, right? So now we started off with our Jeep JL kit that was a home run. It was visually integrated, physically integrated to mold into the dash, not block the AC vents. It was tapped into the vehicle's data bus. So now you get all of the vehicle information, the off-road screens, the camera screens. We are still the only company to retain the factory HD cameras on our aftermarket head unit in a Jeep JL, and we can do it front or rear. and still provide you the 4 camera inputs. But Jeep JL, Jeep JK, Dodge Ram, Chevy Silverado, 14 to 18, those were the first core products. Now we've introduced Toyota Tacoma, the newest Toyota Tundra, Chrysler
And Tundra's
Dodge.
like 14 and up or something silly
Yeah,
like that.
14 to 21 on the
Mhm.
Tundra. The Charger Challenger 300, 3 different major platforms in a single kit. And it's not like dealers don't see Jeeps in their store. They don't see Chargers, Challengers, and 300s ever come through their store. And we focus on the vehicles that dealers see on a regular basis. So you know that this vehicle is going to be in your shop 2 to 3 times a week and 20 times a month, that you have an opportunity to sell this customer something that's built for their vehicle, purpose driven, and is going to be totally different than any other head unit you can put into that vehicle.
It's, yes, you're right, Jeff. It is a awesome universal platform, but it just becomes like a super powered, freakish, other
Mhm.
next level setup when you integrate with all the other accessories and pieces that are available for application specific type stuff. And it even has Sirius XM compatibility.
And yes, it does.
Imagine that. Let's switch gears. There's 2 kind of sides to the source unit game at Stinger. And the SPXM1, although at first glance, and I'm going to be honest with you, kind of looks like a lot of other units that are on the market, right? Until you start peeling off the layers to find out a couple of these key features. And I want you to go ahead and share with us those key features that really make it different from everything else you've seen in that category.
Yeah, so the SPXM1 is another purpose-driven head unit, right? Source unit, infotainment center, because it is built for all of your offshore, off-road applications. If you have a vehicle that goes off in the woods and you leave the top off and it gets rained on, the SPXM1 fits perfectly in a double din location as well. 2.7-inch optically bonded screen, so it's great with polarized sunglasses, great for dust, dirt, water, to keep all that stuff out of the unit. Conformally coated board. It fits all the standard 3-inch hole installations in boats, in ATVs, UTVs, things like that. The SPXM1 has some very unique features. First and foremost, it has a backup camera input, which you don't see in a lot of these offshore, off-road head unit options. It has a voltage meter so that if you are off-roading or on the water and your battery bank is getting low, it will give you a low voltage alert. It has many different applications. You can switch between rear and sub. It has built-in EQ. It has built-in crossover, and all of this with non-volatile memory. So when the season's over and it's time for you to put your vehicle or vessel away and you disconnect power, all of these functions that you've programmed into your head unit stay because of that non-volatile memory.
I'm going to say there's one more feature on there that is probably my favorite one, because coming from experience and working on boats and working on ATVs and stuff like that, sometimes you don't have a lot of room, but you do want to maximize your accessory. So why don't you tell us what Stinger's thought of to kind of hide in as an extra value add in this unit?
Yeah, so that's the number one feature of the SPXM1, is that it has an accessory control built inside of it. So for people who want to add lights, extra fans, anything else that requires a switch to be cut or drilled into the dash or the hull of the fiberglass of your vessel, you don't need to do that, because you have 4 independent switches built electronically into the SPXM1 that you can trigger out individually to trip a relay. Now we took it even further and made our own 100 amp solid state relay called the Switch Hub that will allow you to trigger a 40 amp and 320 amp or any configuration of those outputs in order to reduce the amount of wiring needed, the amount of holes need to be drilled into your vehicle or vessel, to make adding all of these accessories and controllable all from the head unit that much easier.
Yeah, that's a next level game changer for me, for sure. I couldn't let you go without talking about that feature.
No worries.
All right, so we talked about the Heighten, we talked about the SPX M1. If we look towards the future, obviously Stinger has invested a lot of resources into coming to this category, with intent. Can you tell us anything about where you see this maybe heading for Stinger? Is this something that they want to stay static on? They're kind of good with where they're at, or are we going to expect maybe even more expansion into more stuff.
Ben, I can definitely tell you, you're about to watch the entire infotainment offering from Stinger shift down into third and take off. We're going to go into many more vehicle applications. We're going to add additional applications. You could see more features, better visuals from better screen options, more HD camera inputs. There's so many more possibilities, that has turned on the light bulb within our company to say, hey, we know we're never going to be Alpine, Sony, JVC, Kenwood, and we're friends with those guys because we've offered universal installation materials to help their head units be installed in many vehicles for years, and we're never going to turn our back on those guys. But what we want to do is continue to drive vehicle-specific applications that are different from anything else and a feature-rich infotainment system that is going to make the vehicle owner feel like they're immersed into everything that they could possibly have. CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, camera inputs, rear seat, out capabilities, USB, HDMI inputs, anything and everything that you want. We can get it into these head units, and we're just going to keep going further and further forward, offering more and more vehicle applications.
Yes, sir. Jeff Smith, I guess I should tell the people where they should go to find out more info. Let's bring up the graphics. If you're looking for anything that Jeff has talked about tonight, I do encourage you to check out their website. You can find them at stingerelectronics.com. Or if you happen to be in Canada and you're a dealer tuning in, you're like, yeah, I need me some of that Stinger goodness. Go ahead and give one of their two distributors a call, either at Auto Mobility or at Gentech. Two choices for you to get a hold of their Canadian distribution. Jeff, thank you so much for coming in, talking about these two awesome units, man.
We'll see you again next time, buddy.
All right. Let's keep it going, folks. We're tuned in and locked here at all about source units this evening on CMA Live, and we're doing the rounds, right? So we're coming to a brand that I'm going to be the first to say has really earned some stripes, especially these last 2 years. It's a brand that's been around for over 30 years, and now they are a serious player in the source unit category. Now, we had a little bit of a last-minute cancellation tonight, but I'm happy to say we had a replacement, an excellent replacement at that. We're going to go and invite our good friend from Gemsen, the national distributor in Canada for Boss Elite, and their national sales manager, Mr. Dave Singh.
Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Dave, I know tonight you were probably like, why did I give Ben Wu my cell number? Why did I do that? Probably regretting it.
Literally about to go outside to cut my grass, so your timing was impeccable.
I'll tell you, we appreciate you so much. We appreciate you so much for being here, because this is important that Boss Elite has a seat at this table, man. Like, I feel like Boss Elite has worked very hard to earn this seat, and now you are here. It's been an incredible year. Actually, let's say 2 years in the growth of Boss Elite. Can you talk to us a little bit about that growth in the last 18 to 24 months?
Well, the fact that we're here participating with this great panel of different guests is a big thing in itself. I mean, we have much respect for all the tier one guys, that are out there. And certainly we saw substantial growth. Sometimes I guess you could call it being at the right place at the right time. So in the last couple of years, Boss Audio was not really, I should say prior to the last couple of years, or previous to the last couple of years, Boss Audio was not really on the radar of most guys. It was originally a flea market brand when it got started. It was always known for entry-level type product, excellent bang for the buck. But we didn't play with the big guys. But enter, the pandemic, where, the excellent team at Boss Audio and their purchasers and their partnerships with the factories that go back over 30 years, really gave them the opportunity to source units, source screens, source parts, and get whatever it is that they needed in order to bring some of the much desired features, or the most common features in source units, to the market. Let's be honest, anybody that's selling car audio really does need to have a source unit in order to sell amplifiers and speakers. And yes, there was that shortage, and we've certainly benefited by being able to offer units with the most popular features such as CarPlay and Android Auto, in order to get guys to be able to sell these complete systems. So it's fantastic last couple of years.
we mentioned timing. At that time, they had just planned on kind of a new refresh on the look and the feel of the packaging, coming out with these new design, these floating screens. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here. Like, what beyond, everybody knows the availability thing. Great. These guys happen to have inventory. They have great relationships with their manufacturers. Fantastic. They came in at a very attractive price point, which was something else that certainly got them through the door and attracted dealers to it. But you mentioned features. What are some of these features that dealers really embraced when they finally plugged it in and said, let's give this a try?
I think first and foremost, one of the most important things, especially when you're venturing into new product, is you want it to be reliable. So while it's not a feature, it's an important aspect of doing business with any company. And we certainly benefited by having very reliable units that didn't break down. Because quite honestly, especially at these entry level price points, there are a lot of white box type units available on online, Amazon, eBay, whatever it is, and there's not support, there's not options to get repairs done and that sort of thing. So dealers want to be comfortable and know that they're going to be taken care of by having a reliable product. So reliability has been one thing. The 3-year warranty that Boss Audio Elite Series carries has been another thing. It really shows that Boss is putting their money, where their mouths are. And that has also been, a big benefit. But obviously CarPlay and Android Auto, I mean, those are the two biggest features. CarPlay, Android Auto, I mean, because it is a certified platform and you have to go through licensing with Apple, you're going to get the same experience. Now, certain source units may lag a little bit or be slow. One of the big compliments that we've heard on the Boss Audio side is how fast and how responsive the Boss units have been. So that's been another key feature to our success.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so on that success, for those that are tuning in, may not even know why Boss is a little bit on fire right now. What are some of the models that they should definitely go check out and see for themselves, or maybe order some to try?
Well, nowadays when you're buying a new car, the style of the source units is the tablet style floating radio. So that's a big thing. You could take an older vehicle and modernize it by adding what we call floating head units. And one of the big winners for us has been the 10-inch BE10 ACP. It's a 10-inch floating oversized screen, so it kind of has that tablet look to it. It's very fast, very responsive. Great visuality. See, you caught me when I
know.
You're down, can't talk anymore. The visuals are
because
great.
you're on, because I pulled you out of vacation and I'm feeling so guilty, but you're doing so good. Keep it going.
Yeah, the visuals are great on it. I mean, the pixelation and all that is not something anybody complains about. So this particular unit is done particularly well for us. It's got 2 additional USBs, to charge your phone. The thing about these particular units is we are not charging for extra features that may not be useful to that customer. So you're not paying for OEM integration, such as Maestro AR, which are great features, but there's a lot of vehicles that don't need that. And it does cost extra money to put that into, these units. So we're able to come down and make these units more affordable. And that's one of the attractive things to Boss Audio as well, is the affordability of these units. Now you can get into CarPlay and Android Auto and not have to, break the bank like you may have had to do previously. So, 10-inch ACP floating overhead screen. There's a 7-inch that does quite well. But we do have a double DIN. It's a 7-inch double DIN. It's called the BE7 ACP. And just for a little bit of background information, you were asking about growth. That particular unit has been the #1 selling unit in source units for the first quarter of 2021 and 2022. So, that essentially means that across the industry, not across Canada, I mean, across the car audio industry, that particular unit was the #1 selling unit. So, it just goes to show that Boss has figured out a winning recipe.
I want to be able to add to that comment. And if for those of you tuning in, you want to find out more, I do encourage you. We did a great connected session with Doug Kern from Boss and Antonio DeRosa from Gemsa, and we went deep diving. And one of the things that Doug had said, I want to bring up here, is that prior to COVID, 30% of Boss's business was in source units. As of right now, source units is representing 70% of Boss's business. Wow. What a transition in such a short time. That's all, pretty interesting stat.
We're certainly seeing that up here in Canada too. The needle has gone from here to beyond the red zone. So I count that as numbers.
Dave, I hope you made the call so that you are, got the permission to answer this following question, and
Sure.
I'm confident that you have. There's some new product that's being whispered and talked about coming down the pipe. Boss is not sitting on their laurels. They're not just saying, "Yeah, great, we're having success. Let's just keep on rolling." No. They are investing in new models, new features coming down the pipe. Can you share with us right now on live a couple of those things that have been announced?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it is important to invest and move forward. We benefited from the lack of inventory. Now that's starting to catch up, and which is good. But in order to maintain and continue our growth, we need to come up with new products. And one of the things that we're going to do, in the theme of go big or go home, is increase the size of the floating head unit options. So right now we stop around a 10-inch. Boss Audio is going to offer an 11.6 as well as a massive 14-inch floating screen. So, I mean, look at Dodge Ram. It's got, a 12-inch screen. All these new vehicles are coming up with gigantic screens. And it may not be for everybody. Certainly it may not fit in every application. But, there's a lot of people that are looking for gigantic screens. And, we're going to bring one to the market. The other thing that we're going to do is also come up with wireless CarPlay options for the floating head units. Right now, that's not an option. So that'll be a new feature as well. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, you got to see on the episode that we did with Doug how massive that screen is. I'm using a laptop right now. It's a 13-inch screen. I can only imagine what 14 inches will look like staring you in the face. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
It definitely is certainly fun, especially for custom applications. I feel could really, play a key role. And, some guys just want it big because they're going to ask for the biggest one, and that's what they want. And now you can show it to them.
And the beautiful thing about it is, we didn't touch upon it on the session, is those screens are actually removable. They're pretty solid, and it is a single DIN opening that fits into the dash. But if you need it and you felt uncomfortable, you're parking, in an area that may not be so safe, and you don't want to get that attention of somebody walking by seeing this 14-inch screen, you'll be able to remove that and take that with you. So that's a cool security feature as well that you don't really see on a lot of the oversized screens.
So I certainly appreciate the respect that Boss has always, afforded the competition, as you referred to them as the tier 1 brands.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you something. Boss is coming to the table pretty hard, stacked with features, backing it up with a 3-year warranty. My last question to you is, what other features can we expect to see being added to new units as time moves forward, along with, the 14 and 11 that you just mentioned?
So, price point has always been a key factor. So we did, skip out on some of the features that you can find elsewhere. On future units, we will see some integration of some of these popular features, such as DSP, sound processing. It won't be across the board, but there'll be certain units that will have those additional features. So if somebody does want to step up, they can do that. But Canada being a rural area, this is going to be a big welcomed feature. But Sirius XM has been in the works for quite some time. And, if you live out in the boonies where there's not great, reception, hey, heck, where I am sometimes, just driving by a building, I lose FM radio. Sirius Satellite is going to be an awesome feature that'll be available as well. So that's been something that's been in the works for quite some time. And, we're excited about that. Maestro AR, that sort of thing. Those are some of the features that we're in the works with. And coming down the road, hey, CarPlay is doing so well in mobile and in trucks. We're going to bring the double DIN CarPlay experience to our marine source unit offerings.
Wow,
have
amazing.
Marine double DINs with CarPlay. They're marinized, they're water resistant, and it's got the same look and feel as our car audio units. Very fast, very responsive. And at great price point. So you'll see that in the marine offering, and don't be surprised if it doesn't make its way in the Harley Davidsons.
Oh boy, you've just dropped a lot right there, Dave. I appreciate you though. I appreciate you, man. Congrats to the brand, everybody over there at Jemson as well. It's great to see you're doing well with this line. Let's go up and bring it the information. If you're interested in Boss Elite, you can go to their website first and foremost, where they have the entire gambit of everything they sell over there. And that, I mean, so many new things being popped up. Let's bring up the website. Bossaudio.com is where you want to go check out for the product. And if you're looking, if you're a Canadian dealer, anyhow, you're going to have to get a hold of the boys and girls at Jemson. They are the Canadian distributor for all things Boss Elite. You can find them at jemson.com. Dave, I got to high five you on this one, man. Thanks for being here. You did a great job, and just really appreciate you being here tonight.
Well, thanks for including us.
Have a good night.
Take care.
So that was Dave Singh from Jemson representing Boss. Lots of exciting news dropping there from the Boss camp. No doubt about it. All right, we got two more guests, two heavyweights in the game. Now, you know, this is crazy time because there's so many shows going on. Trainers are flying in and out everywhere. It's always a challenge trying to get everybody's schedule lined up. But luckily, I did manage to sit down with our next two guests and get an interview to make sure that they had an opportunity to talk about all the great things happening with their brands, starting with Sony. And we had a chance to sit down with their global product training manager, of course, Mr. Chris Beulah. And this is how it went. Chris, this whole year has kind of been a really exciting time for Sony. Some new product coming out, which is great, but not one, but two brand new models. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, sure. We're super proud of these. The new XAV AX4000 and the XAV AX6000 have just been, well, they were announced a couple months ago. The 4000 is just now hitting dealers as we speak. And the 6000, I think, is 30 to 60 days away. So both head units are kind of a paradigm shift for Sony in terms of technology. We finally support really kind of anything that a consumer is looking for in a head unit. Wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Identilink Maestro features, you name it, it's got it. High res capability, all that good stuff. Last fall, I introduced the new XAV 9500 ES, which I'm sure you'll ask me about because you always do. But when I announced that, or when we announced that to the industry, and we started doing some trainings on it, one thing I always brought up was that some of that technology and some of those features would eventually trickle down to the core line. And these two initial units here are the beginning of that.
Very nice to see. Very nice to see. I mean, they look slick. If you guys haven't had the chance, I definitely recommend go check out the session that we did with Chris. We go over all the fine details. Today, we're going to get kind of the high level synopsis of what's going on. So, what are the main features that kind of set these new models apart from the existing core line that Sony's been so popular with?
Yeah, I mean, we still have a lot of really cool decks out in the market. The 5000, the 5500, 5600, 8000, 8100, all those. I mean, that's the Sony tried and true kind of reliable head units, right? We needed to kind of step up a little bit on our tech game and really kind of give the retailers some tools to give the customers what they were looking for, right? That wireless connectivity is a really big deal nowadays. It's becoming standard across even OEM manufacturers. And you get in a car, many of them have wireless, CarPlay and Android Auto. So why wouldn't you want that in your aftermarket decks? So we bring a full gamut of connectivity options to these head units. And both the 4 and the 6, like I mentioned, have that wireless compatibility with CarPlay and Android Auto. And of course, the Maestro feature, which we've now finally fully support on 3 different models.
Yeah, very nice. Those are certainly upgrades, no doubt about it. So if I'm a dealer, obviously you have my attention. I've got the 4000 to look at, the 6000 to look at. What is the differences or feature set or maybe power or maybe even warranty between these two, so I can help discern between these two models?
Yeah, I mean, you picked up on a couple key points already. Power and warranty; those are both things that we always we have a really good job. We do a really good job of kind of having separate tiers for our different models, right? We make it very clear that there's a few feature benefits for that upgrade in price. So, with that step up and down between the 4 and 6000, the 4000 is great. It's got a ton of cool features. What the 6000 does is it replaces the resistive touchscreen that is on the 4000 with a capacitive touchscreen. Now, the 4000 is also anti-glare. So it depends on what your customer really needs on which one they'll choose, right? Anti-glare with resistive touch or capacitive with no anti-glare filter on it. In addition to that, we have a 3-year warranty on those, 5-volt pre-outs, and we also add a micro HDMI input for video sources as well. So pretty significant upgrades for that price delta.
And I would imagine that if the dealer should have both of these units side by side, let's say on a display, you would be able to perceive the physical differences and the performance differences between these two types of screens.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you put a resistive and a capacitive touch from any brand next to each other, you'll be able to tell some differences for sure. So putting these next to each other would result in that. You'd be able to see the physical difference. But you'd also be able to kind of show off that anti-glare reflectivity, on that 4000 versus that kind of shinier screen on that 6000. So it really kind of depends on what they need for their application. A convertible, maybe a Jeep or something, it gets a lot of sunlight in through the windows or through the roof. You'll probably want that anti-glare screen on there. But you can't go wrong in either direction. I mean, unless you're looking for the 5-volt pre-outs.
I was just going to say, if you're part of a system build, perhaps, that you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, for a system build, we always want you to use the higher voltage on the pre-outs, right? That's just common sense. So you get a lot more out of your system by doing that. And unless you need that for system building or you need that micro HDMI input, 4000 is a great option, right? So you can get in the door with a quality Sony head unit. It's got a lot of cool features on it for the money, and you're ready to go.
My advice to dealers, as always, top down. Sell the 6000, sell them on all the features, and then take away 2 years of warranty, take away the 5-volt pre-out, take away, and I think dealers are going to see that 6000 is definitely a winner. Not that the 4000 isn't, but you've given them the tools to upsell that customer to that 6000 for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I always, I echo the same thing. Top down selling always. The difference with this one, we have a unique situation here with 2 different screens on them, right? Mm-hmm. So in the past, you'd have maybe a 56 and a 5500 on the older platform, and the screen and everything, like physically, it looks exactly the same. The only difference is that HDMI input on the 5600. So you could put one up and then just talk to them about the differences and reduce that price if you had to. This one's a little different because of the screen differences, where you may or may not want to show that resistive touch and some of the anti-glare features on it versus that 6000. But hey, to each your own. Do what works best for your customers in your shop.
Before we move on to the piece I love talking about, I want to take a note here and say, the way the Sony is designed the interface with the soft buttons and the hard buttons at the same time, and also the customizable menus as well as the backgrounds. I just want to say those are pretty nifty value add features that I think dealers really would appreciate, and customers, of course.
All right, listen, you see some of those needs and wants in your phone that you carry every day, right? Mm-hmm. You'll hear people complain about, it used to be no headphone jack. Now it's no power button or whatever it might be now, right? Those hard keys are important for quick access. Volume keys on a phone, especially important, right? So why wouldn't they be on a car stereo? So we believe very strongly in quick access to quick features, right? So up, down for track, up, down for volume, source selection. Those are things that you always have access to on any of our radios. And then on top of that, we've added the ability, just like your phone, you can rearrange icons and do all that cool stuff on any of these new decks to kind of customize your interface on the screen.
Pretty value packed. And all this, like you said, was kind of a trickle down DNA effect from the mobile ES line. We're talking, of course, about the XAV 9500 ES. Now, this unit is special. It's special because it's taking up a lot of space. It's got a lot of guys like thirsting. I think it's the best word is thirsting. I hear guys thirsting for this unit. They want it. You've got the attention of those audio enthusiasts that want that all-in-one, top-of-the-line, premium sound. I want to hear in your words the success story behind since the launch of this unit.
Well, it's a great unit, and we sell a lot of just about anything we produce just because we're Sony, right? There's a lot of name recognition that goes along with it. So kind of by default, we sell a lot of units. But with the 9500, we kind of took, and this is true for the entire Mobile ES line, for as a matter of fact, we kind of changed the way we designed product, right? So we looked at the problems it was trying to solve first, and then tried to package that in a beautiful device, right? So with the 9500, I mean, sound quality is always, kind of the premier thing with Sony, but the usability, those features, like I said, the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto and Maestro features that were introduced last fall, like we knew this was coming to the core line as well. So I would hint to that in the trainings, but those were solutions we had to provide for the industry, right? And putting them into a very capable high resolution head unit with a industry leading 32-bit DAC on board and 5-volt pre-outs and everything else you need to build a really kick butt system. Well, that's the pretty package that it's in, right? So yeah, lots of cool
Absolutely.
stuff.
It's a pretty package for sure. Aesthetically very appealing. It looks so good in so many installs that I've seen so far. But I have Chris Bueller here, so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. Let's remind people, there is true technology into that unit that kind of makes it really stand out from an audio quality standpoint. I'm hoping you can kind of touch on maybe 2 or 3 of those unique features.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done is we don't really kind of take any outs in the design process when we're trying to recreate sound. We believe within Sony that the sound should come out of the source unit and eventually through your amplifiers and through your speakers as accurately as possible, right? Power is great, but only if it doesn't affect that purity, right? Features are great as long as it doesn't affect that purity of that signal and that source, right? So what we've done is just use nothing but the best, the caps, the chokes inside the Class AB amplifier that's on board that deck itself. We've separated the analog and digital components inside the deck because, I mean, listen, you need a lot of digital components for all the CarPlay, Android Auto, and all that stuff. You need the analog components on board to create that good quality sound through that amplifier. But those make very noisy neighbors, right? So what we've done is isolated those separate levels and put them in an EMI resistant chassis. So there's really no sound that can go in or out or between layers in that deck. So literally the best on the market. The ESS 32-bit DAC is second to none. It's the latest and greatest sound processing chip in the market. Nobody from any other brand is using this. I mean, they're not even close, so it's next level for sure,
You touched on everything I was hoping you would talk about, especially that ESS chip is a little bit of a game changer, and I wanted our listeners to definitely know about that. Chris, I'm going to let you go. I know you have a busy schedule. I heard you're doing a little bit of a road trip everywhere. And on that note, just thank you for taking the time to talk with me, man. I think dealers are going to be super impressed with that new 6000 and 4000 model, and of course, that 9500 continues to just on a warpath. So good job, great stuff. Love having you on. Thanks so much, Chris.
Always a pleasure to talk with you guys. Thanks a lot. See you, Ben.
So, of course, I should mention, if you're interested in anything Chris and I talked about as far as Sony product is concerned, it's a big website. Check it out. It's sony.com is where you want to go. And if you happen to be a dealer in Canada and you'd like to be a Sony dealer or maybe a Sony Mobile ES dealer, because if you check out that show that we did with Gentech, as you can see below is their Canadian distributor, there are some opportunities for dealers to become Mobile ES dealers as well. All right, one more brand to go, and this is a very iconic brand indeed, who's also had a huge 2022 with big announcements, not only in source unit category, but many other categories as well. Pretty high-end stuff. And, we're talking about DNA trickle down. Well, Alpine certainly has trickled down some DNA from their F#1 status into some new product that we're excited to talk to you about. I caught up with Dan Greenwood, their brand specialist, and here is what he had to say. Hey, Dan, this is some exciting times for Alpine. No doubt about it. You guys are kind of being on fire, coming out with new products. What are some of the key technologies that will always be consistent in Alpine units that always ensure that top level sound quality and that signature Alpine sound?
Well, just like you said, that's something that we have always stood behind and something we firmly believe in is sound quality. And with that, we're especially with these new head units, we're making sure that we're using the finest components available to us. That's actually introducing a couple new digital power ICs and like using a red LED instead of a diode in certain places in our power supplies and our head units that help not only eliminate phase shift and noise issues, but also just give you the cleanest output possible to make sure you're going to have that best quality sound. And a lot of those components that you're seeing are trickling down the line. So with us introducing F1 status, something you're going to be seeing from us not only right now and in the future is a lot of what we're calling the trickle down effect. So all this new awesome technology that comes from F1 status is going to work its way down through the line. And you're already seeing that this year with some of our new head units.
On that note, those 3 new head units that we've been talking about, and if you haven't, I do encourage you to go back and check out the session I did with Dan all about these head units. But of these 3 head units, can you give us some tips or maybe some differences as far as the feature set is concerned that can help dealers kind of discern between these new units to have better sell through to their customers?
Yeah, it's something we did this year is we made it about as easy as it can be as all the feature set across all the new radios. And so just to clarify, we're talking about the F511, which is the 11-inch floating display, the F509, which is the 9-inch version, and then there's the 507, which is your standard double DIN radio. And the differences between all 3 of these head units is what I just said, the screen size. Everything else is identical. We're going to have the same, do 2 USB ports, wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, all the sound tuning capabilities, which we'll get to in here in just a second, as well as the HD screen, all the bells and whistles, everything's there. So the only thing you got to remember is just the size of the screen being the difference. And those 3 are going to be that way. And then the existing models we've already had that are still staying with the line, like the W650 and the 407, those continue unchanged. So those kind of still stay as our entry-level options to get people into CarPlay and Android Auto as a wired option.
Okay, so really it's not too hard to discern. Basically, the customer's budget will depend on what size of the screen that they want. Excellent.
Yep.
Now, you touched on something there. We're talking about tuning, and I did notice, and I think I brought it up during our little session together, man, the tuning options built into source units these days have certainly become a little bit more advanced than I remember anyhow. And they've come a long way. So can you tell us a little bit about the tools that are part of the bundle or part of the feature set that comes with these new Alpine units?
Yeah. So something else that we introduced with our new head units is our whole new GUI and just overall interface. And one thing that people notice, there's now a drop-down menu from the top of the screen that is all of our audio settings. So, but back in the past, you would have to go through the audio setup menu, or there was also the drop-down for some more basic options. But now it's all just there in the drop-down menu. And what's really cool is it's an easy access to all your time alignment settings, which we have always had, your crossover settings, if you like to use the media expander or bass engine EQ, all that stuff's there. One thing that's new, it's pretty cool, is the EQ has been revamped. So now it is a 13-band parametric, and that is per output. So like you said before, a lot of the tuning capabilities of these newer head units has really come a long way. And with all these settings and all the possibilities with tuning in the new head unit, it pretty much eliminates the need for a DSP for some consumers. As long as you're running more of a what I'll call traditional front and rear system with like a 5-channel amp, you can really dial it in with just the setting up all the EQ on the head unit. It's pretty awesome.
I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. You mentioned a key term, something about an expander. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about the expansion capabilities of the new head units.
Yes,
yeah?
correct.
So, excellent. So, last year we launched a. We'll kind of get a little background here. We did launch our DVR cameras, and one of them is the DVR C320R. And with that camera, it's front and rear DVR camera. You can actually now interface it with the new head unit. So whenever you there's just a simple 2-pin connection, and you plug in your video and that's it. You're up and running. And in that interface, you can actually now see your live view of the front and rear cameras. You can full screen either one of them, as well as go into the settings of the camera and go through and set up what kind of recording events you want to do, as well as all the driver assist features that the C320 comes with, like lane departure warnings or front collision warnings, for example. And using the camera with the head unit, not only whenever any of those actions happen on the camera, before you would just hear it beep, Now with the head unit, we'll actually get a banner warning on screen, letting you
Like
know
a
exactly what
visual.
that beep means.
Mhm,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's really cool is you don't have to remember what 3 beeps means, because you have no visual aid, but now it'll be there. And for people looking for, to add like some modern safety features to an older car, it's a really great option for them.
And
Uh,
I must note, dash cams are a dime a dozen. There are dash cams all over the
mhm.
market, but to have that enhanced interface with the big screen, the touch screen and all that really takes that whole experience and user experience to another level.
Absolutely. A couple other new features we're coming out with soon. It will be for the customers that want to use built-in navigation.
Hmm.
So one thing that you might notice in the feature set of all the new radios is none of them have built-in nav anymore. And the reason why is because we're actually going to offer that as an add-on accessory, because not every customer wants it or needs it. But what it's going to be really simple. What it is just a little USB stick that plugs into one of the USB ports. We call it the nav stick. And what it'll do is it'll give them built-in navigation as well as the off-road maps and navigation modes, just like we've seen before on a couple of the Jeep radios. So for those people who like to do off-roading and like to do what's like one of the cool features is the breadcrumb trail, so you can record your trail while you're off-road. You'll have that ability as well. So for the customers out there that maybe have a truck like an F-150 Raptor, for example, and they put a Halo 9 in there, you can now use all those off-road features. It's pretty cool.
Especially the fact that in situations where you don't have cell phone service
That's right.
and you
Yep.
can't go through your Android Auto or your Apple CarPlay, it's a perfect
Mhm.
solution for that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then one other feature that we actually just started shipping, one thing I think is pretty cool, is the the new Rux knob. It's the RUXHO2. So you might have seen pictures of this already. So this is a pretty cool. It's a little battery-powered Bluetooth knob that you can comes with a mount to mount it either on the side of the Halo, either left or right side of the screen, or you can mount it anywhere you want. It is wireless, so you can put it in your center console. You can put it in a trim piece somewhere on the dash. And what it's going to give you is volume control for your new radio. Now, that's going to be only compatible with the 507, F509, and 511 right now, and probably future radios as well, but we haven't gotten there yet. So, but it's going to give you master volume control as well as sub volume. And the way that works is you just push in the knob and rotate, and it'll do your sub control. So, for a lot of the older guys that like me, that like volume knobs and not buttons, this is an easy add-on. It's pretty cool.
First of all, it's wireless, so you had me at that. Second of all, who
Mhm.
likes pressing volume up and down on a button, really, though? We're not judging.
Not
I'm
me.
just saying.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
okay.
Dan. I've saved my favorite question of today's conversation for last, and of course, status dropped at the. I remember that K-Fest back in Florida. It was huge news, and for those that have been following, status is a full line, right? It's a full suite of product. You got speakers, you
Mhm.
got amplifiers, you got DSP that we talked about during their DSP sessions, and then the sneaky guys at Alpine. You guys are sneaky. Put out this head unit. It's called the HDS 990. And at first, when I looked at the image, I'm like, that's funny. Why is the faceplate so small? It doesn't fit onto the single DIN. And then we got into it. So I'm not going to steal your thunder. Please tell us all about this new Status HDS 990 unit.
Well, so the whole point of this head unit is the whole point of status. Status is to kind of bring high resolution audio to the masses. So going back to F1 status, that is the world's highest resolution car audio system, right? And we wanted to come out with something at a lower price point that more people can afford and get their hands on, and that's where status comes in. So what this unit is it's a high-res audio player, so it's capable of 24-bit 192K, and that's on all the outputs. So there's 2 digital outputs, optical, digital, and coax, as well as your standard pre-outs, front, rear, and sub that are rated at 4 volts. And just like you said, there's a very small faceplate on it. Now, the reason why is because we know that this radio is probably not going to go into a lot of traditional systems. I look at it as more of like a companion piece. So there is a hideaway box. It's a black box. It actually is the size of a radio, and you actually can mount it in a dash kit if you want to. And then it's going to have this controller that you can be remote mounted and put somewhere else in the vehicle, and that allows you to have full control over all your music. So it's really great for custom applications, and you can also get pretty basic with some basic installs. Like if there's like a pocket underneath the radio of a car, you can stick it in there. but it does come with a little plastic bucket that you can flush in and mount wherever you want. And the other little cool trick up this thing's sleeve is it's actually an integration piece. So it not only has a built-in amplifier, it also has a high level input, like a 4-channel input, so you can actually interface it with some factory systems and actually have it mix in and take over as a main source in your audio system. So for those that not going to change out the factory radio but want to keep some of the factory features like their CarPlay and their Bluetooth hands-free, but they want to use this as a really nice audio source, they can do that. It's pretty awesome.
I really like how Alpine really thought of the flexibility with this unit, even though it's like for a high res audio kind of customer. And I should ask you, options for input, obviously streaming through Bluetooth, but you can also add like a solid state drive to it or a thumb drive, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. Yeah. There are actually 3 USB ports on it. So you have a lot of options there.
And might I also mention, very digitally friendly, both in copper coax as well as Toslink. So
yep.
I know
and
you guys out there.
One really cool feature about those digital outputs is they have variable volume. So I know some people might be wondering that. And if for those of you who are wondering what that is, that means the volume knob on the radio actually does work with the digital output, because a lot of other digital outputs on other sources might be full tilt, no volume in it whatsoever. Yeah, so 100%. Yes, fixed volume. Yep.
Pretty exciting news, Dan. I want to thank you. I know you're in a busy, crazy schedule running all over the country training people, but I want to, on behalf of us, thank you for taking the time to join us to update us on everything going on in the source unit category for Alpine.
Thanks for having me.
I want to thank Dan for making the time for that interview. If you're looking for more information on Alpine products, I recommend you go to their website, alpine-usa.com. Always up to date over there. And if you happen to be a Canadian dealer looking to become perhaps an Alpine dealer, well, you want to get hold of our friends at Gentech International. Gentech is the exclusive Canadian distributor for all things Alpine. Well, there you have it. Thanks for sticking with us. We've gone through the gambit, 5 different brands to talk about what's going on in the source unit category. Big shout out to all the brands that joined us tonight. Of course, we're talking about Pioneer, Stinger, Boss Elite, Sony, and Alpine. And I want to recommend that you continue tuning in to our source unit sessions going on each and every day at noon as we go through one brand at a time. Of course, we are still in the source unit sessions here on CMA Networks. Now, here's some big news. If you haven't heard already, shame on you. Spread the news. CMA Networks and Master Tech Expo got together and brought you and announced a brand new contest giveaway called the Ultimate Fab Experience Giveaway in collaboration with 5-Axis Innovations and SiriusXM. 2 lucky winners will win an all-inclusive trip to Master Tech Expo in Mesa, Arizona in 2023. All you got to do is head over to cmanetworks.com/giveaways and enter to win. There's no cash value. Winners will be drawn right here on CMA at the Roundtable Show on November 23rd. And while you're there, keep browsing on cmanetworks.com for more CMA Live episodes, or search by your favorite brand, your favorite category, or even your favorite trainer. Lots of enhanced search tools right on cmanetworks.com. That's it for this one. Thanks so much for tuning in to this CMA Live presented by SiriusXM. Hope you guys have a great night. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Yo, roll it down. I am. You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on SiriusXM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?